And Jamie, get the Stephen A. Smith clip ready too as well, because there is this narrative here, and please say it again, talking about what you've experienced when it comes to the migrations, because a lot of people are saying immigrants are getting keys to a Rolls Royce, they're getting manicures and pedicures, they're giving all these 5-star hotels, getting treated like gods and kings, while they're letting you people sleep on the streets. So give a little insight really quickly. I'm going to get this Stephen A. Smith clip up too as well, and I want you to listen to this because this rhetoric is out there right now. In fact, do you have it ready, Jamie? All right, listen, watch this clip really quickly. Diane, give your opinions about it, and then Alex will let you piggyback on it. Guys, thank you so much. Pasta to go, the number 2 and go, PASTA to go. You can see it there in the corner. Hit a button, hit the like button, hit the share button. Let's get it ready. Let's watch this clip from Stephen A. Smith, guys.
So you can pick and choose. What it came down to for me is this. I see homeless folks in the streets of New York all the time that are American citizens. I damn sure see them in California. We've got poor, impoverished, starving people who were born and raised in this nation. How in the hell do we come up with a $53 million pilot program for illegals, but folks who are here legally are born here, we don't have enough for them? Just like we could come up with billions for Ukraine, but somehow, some way, we can't fix the homeless problem. I'm down for helping Israel. I'm down for helping address the situations with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, okay? I'm down for helping the Ukrainians and fighting off Russia. What about poor and desolate citizens here? How the hell do you print money for foreign countries, but you don't print that money to help eradicate folks that are starving right here in the streets of America who were born and raised here? This is what I'm talking about. And so when you have something like that, what's the one way to eradicate it? Yes, you got to have a flourishing economy. Yes, you can't have inflation. Yes, you can't be on the verge of a recession. Milk don't need to cost $7. Bread don't need to cost $5. Don't get me started with how much sugar costs. You can talk about employment all you want to. You can talk about the labor participation rate. But guess what? If you ain't making no damn money and you got to get 2 jobs to pay the same prices or to buy the same amount of stuff that you used to buy, and the price is higher than it used to be because of inflation, then guess what? What are you really accomplishing? That's why Trump is on the verge of getting elected, reelected. Because when he was in office, there was a flourishing economy.
So there it is, Diane. You know, there is this, listen, there's a lot of things he said. There's a lot of truth to it. Why can't we take care of our own people at home when we're sending all this money out for more? Obviously, there were some differences. I disagree with him and stuff, but there is this kind of like notion, this narrative that we are treating these immigrants better than Americans. And therefore, there's more scapegoating towards the immigrants than the actual people pulling, you know, of the levers of power. And that's the part that really bothers me. Go ahead, Diane, your opinions there.
I was going to say, the people who say this about all the money we're spending overseas, and I agree, we shouldn't be sending weapons to Ukraine or Israel, but no one ever talks about how much money we gave BlackRock or how we subsidized Jamie Dimon buying up all these bankrupt banks. That is, they never talk about that. You want to talk about communism. We got a bunch of clients of Jeffrey Epstein who were on communist bailouts who get unlimited amounts of money. And what you see is they don't care about human life. Now, for how the migrants are living, I went down to the Roosevelt Hotel. This was now a few months ago in the summer, because I just wanted to see what was going on. And it was at this time that they were having everyone sleep on the sidewalk, which I also found peculiar because there's plenty of empty office space and all kinds of other stuff in New York, but was the mayor trying to make a show? I don't know. So I went there, and the people I met were all from West Africa. And thankfully, I knew a little teeny bit of French from high school, so I talked to one guy from Mauritania and said, you know, because I was a little surprised. You'd think you have this idea they're mostly from South America, and apparently the large majority of migrants in New York are from Venezuela. That's what I've been told. But I went there and I met people from Mauritania, Guinea, Sierra Leone, Gambia, and I talked to this one fellow from Mauritania, and I said, "How did you come here?" And he said, "Well, we're told that Biden has opened the borders, that we can live better there. I had to come up with $5,000, which for him, I'm sure it was like his whole extended family, to buy a plane ticket to go to Nicaragua, to get on a bus, to come up." I mean, this really is insane. And I think that is where you do see the cartel question, which is part of the massive rot of the crime at the top. But before that, or you could take the inverse. Suppose Garfield and McKinley had not been assassinated. Both of them were staunch advocates of building rail all the way from the tip of North America down to the bottom of Argentina, of developing the entire landmass. Now imagine if you had a program for great infrastructure projects for rebuilding Port-au-Prince in Haiti and the Caribbean. No one would want to leave. They'd be employed there. They would be building things there. And you know what? It would be good for the United States. But we don't see it that way. So we have this exploitation and looting. Think how many Syrian refugees flooded into Germany. I was there right after we tried to overthrow the Syrian government. It was flooded with Syrian refugees. And my own view is if you broke it, you own it. I don't think we have a right to not accept people from countries whose governments we've tried to overthrow. We have to, we're gonna have to change our policy. But I do think it's complex, and there is a massive criminal element in this. I think they want to incite violence. I also think they want slaves. It's almost like back to slavery.
Yeah, Alex, go ahead and jump in there. So
yeah, I like a lot of what you said. That last part about accepting people from countries that we've decided to overthrow, that we've tried to overthrow. That's kind of exactly why we should not be accepting people from countries that we've decided to overthrow. Because like let's put ourselves into their shoes. Okay, you know, you're from a third world country that's been systematically exploited by colonialism, by the United States, by globalist entities, by large mega corporations. If you come into this country as a result of what you've had to deal with, you're not going to come into America like respecting our Constitution. You're not going to come in respecting our values. You're going to come in as a byproduct of a horrible education system, because when countries are exploited and pillaged, you know, the people who live in these countries do not get educated. We spend $800 billion like annually, and it always rises on our military and on facilitating these wars. Rand Paul released a Festivus report saying that $900 billion went totally unaccounted for on bullshit projects like transgender monkeys. And not a joke, or giving methamphetamine to like transgender monkeys, and like equity training for the CISA, the cybersecurity force, right? Like you have all of these factors. You know what that you know what that means? That money that we're spending on senseless wars, that money that we're being spent on wasteless pet project, which is literal cronyism. That money that's money that's not being spent to provide education and proper nutrition and like adequate healthcare to a lot of these migrants that are going to be coming in here from these countries. And we apprehended like 6 million migrants, like I believe more than 6 million migrants since 2021, right? And that means we have millions more people that are flooding into a country that's already $34 trillion in debt.
Okay, hold on. Let me stop you right there.
Yeah. Okay, but
let me ask you the question then.
All right.
So let me ask you the question, Alex, just so we're aware of this real quickly. You did mention something, the fact that, you know, I happen to agree with Diane 1000% that if we broke it, then we're responsible for it. If you're saying that we shouldn't be accountable for our own government's actions.
Well, I didn't break it. You know, like a truck driver in Pennsylvania didn't break it.
No, but you're responsible. We're not in jail. I strongly believe that we get the government we deserve, even if the elections are stolen, which they are, because we have freedom of speech. Even as little as we do, We still do. We're not all in jail. We're having this conversation. And therefore, the people here are responsible if our government goes and tries to overthrow Syria.
Okay.
And I just want to, wait, I want to add one other thing. A lot of the people who leave are actually the best educated. They're the best in their country because otherwise they wouldn't be able to figure out how to get out. The people from Syria who fled to Germany were doctors, engineers, highly educated, employable people, which is a great loss for their country. The kid I met from Mauritania, I'm sure, is more ambitious and more skilled than the most of the people around him. That's why he figured out how to get over here.
Okay,
ahead,
that's a fair point. I'll concede that to you. Watching that documentary from Anthony Rubin, it didn't seem like the demographic of people, and these were large crowds. It didn't seem like it seemed like many of them barely knew how to speak English.
Well, I barely know how to speak Arabic. In fact, I don't speak it at all. So I guess I'd look pretty stupid if I got over there.
So here's the thing too. What I was really going to try to add is that I feel like a lot of this actually does feel more colonialism, because right now we have an all-time low interest of men who want to join the military as a result of the fact that more and more people are waking up to a lot of the bullshit that we do in these foreign countries, right? Like it's a pretty obvious statement. Support for Ukraine is super unpopular. Support for Israel, support for providing foreign aid to these countries and meddling in world affairs is like at an all-time low. You can't win an election advocating for any of this stuff. Just look at the Republican primary, just on a superficial level. Okay. That being said, and not only that, let's add to the fact that, like, you know, look at the poison, look at the GMOs that we're consuming, look at all the garbage that we have in our food. Look at the fact that, like, we're pumping kids up with all these unnecessary vaccines, like, and these medications that are poison. You know, we're like one of the, like, most people, like, who are military age in our country can't even pass the basic physical fitness test to join the military. Okay. So that being said, you know, when you have, like, when you have millions of migrants from third world countries coming into this country that are military aged, right? When you have that, and we still have a bloodlust about, you know, we have a bloodlust and a thirst for colonialism, like, abroad, right? With that being said, like, yo, I'm not going to go fight for the Azov battalion in Ukraine, but Juan from Venezuela will, if you make him a citizen. And then after that, you know, they become your police officers. They start voting in your local election.
Let me say this much.
They start voting in your
Let me say this much, and that's you're making a good point here, and I think, you know, there's two different perspectives.
I think it's a valid point that we should talk about fairly and rationally.
Here's the thing.
Right?
Here's the problem, Alex. Here's the problem I have. There's not even an acknowledgement by the population, the majority of the population, by the populist right, the people who are so concerned about the border. They think that if you just shut down the border, that's going to stop people from coming in. It's not. There's other ways people can get in, and they're escaping a burning building. The safest place to go is behind the gun. And people have to acknowledge that our foreign policy apparatus and our government is pointing a gun at all these countries. So I would say, before we can even say all these other things, is that we have to acknowledge first what the problem is. And that's the biggest problem I hear we have. People are still blaming the immigrants coming to seek a better life, and they think that's the only reason why they're coming in the first place. So wouldn't you at least agree that we have to acknowledge why they're coming first and acknowledge who's behind the problem before we make any of the solutions?
Yeah, that's literally what I'm saying, though. Yeah. Like I said all this. Like, this is symptomatic of a greater problem, and as a result of this being symptomatic of a greater problem, you know, Juan from Venezuela, just to throw out a stereotype, who's leaving a torn country, escaping hyperinflation, having to traverse all types of crazy terrain to get here.
One of the most sanctioned countries out there.
Yeah. Okay, like, that's what I'm saying. But I'm agreeing with you, like, straight up. Okay, like, that guy's going to be so happy just being able to have food and being able to have a roof over his head and being able to buy goods and services and save money appropriately, that, like, those types of people, like, you know, it helps that, like, those types of people are, like, the perfect candidates to creating kind of a permanent underclass, as well as, like, an enforcement arm for a lot of these global elites to kind of, like, be the final stages towards imposing techno-fascist tyranny.
So we both agree what the problem is. We just disagree with the solution. Diane, what is the solution?
There's multiple solutions possible.
Yeah, well, I think we disagree, right? You're like, shut it down, don't let them come in.
Well,
Diane's
but you also don't provide aid. And you also shut it down, but you also don't finance wars and support proxy wars and do stuff like that. You let these people govern themselves and you adopt like a sound money standard and encourage that throughout the world. So this does not become a problem that we have to face.
Gotcha.
It's both.
I don't think we can do one without the other first. And
yeah, I agree. It's both. Right? That's what I'm saying. It's both. Like, I just want to be clear.
Let's hear what Diane has to say. Thank you, Alex. Amen for that, buddy.
Thank you.
I think we have to bankrupt the financial institutions because we're not going to be allowed to solve any of this stuff. FDR had the Pecora Commission where he put the head of, I think, National Citibank in jail for insider trading. And if people like Jamie Dimon and Larry Fink and all the other ones are allowed to call the shots, they just see every single person as a kind of a throughput for their money laundering. And we see the migrants being used for this. I don't know if it's true. Someone told me they're paying $1,400 per person to the bus companies. I know of one particular case in New York where they put 50 of them in a warehouse, which had only one restroom. And it was a little tiny town. So it really stood out that you had a whole group of people, darker complected people standing on a corner with suitcases. So they've investigated, discovered that the owner of the warehouse was getting $5,000 a head to put people there, or they're paying the hotels. The hotels, just like during COVID when they emptied the homeless shelters and put people in the hotels, they're paying the hotels more than you would pay. When we go to I don't go to luxury hotels, but if I did, I would use AAA and this discount and that discount, and you pay about half of what their going rate is. They're paying the hotels the going rate 100%, $500 a room. So the people are just incidental. They're just the excuse to move this money around. So I think first and foremost, we have to shut down this bankrupt, rotten, 2 quadrillion double derivatives garbage held by the City of London and Wall Street. And I think doing that will help us to also get at this military, industrial, financial complex, because that is what owns a lot of the Congress. That is what controls these companies like Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, who could just as well be producing high-speed rail, nuclear power plants, modern water management infrastructure, and things that people actually need. But we have no interest in that. But I think if we don't get at the top, which is the desperation by a tiny elite to preserve a bubble that can't possibly be saved, we're not going to be able to stop any of this. And they're going to continue to pit all of us against each other when we are each being used in the same way.
Well, let me say this much. I think it was awesome having the both of you guys on the show. I think we're going to have Alex definitely. This is just the first of many. Diane, we've talked about you coming back. You guys were awesome. But that's it. We're at the top of the hour. I had you guys for almost an hour today. Alex, please tell everybody where they can find you and what you got going on, and make Alex nice and big so we can see his beautiful face since he doesn't have his.
There you go. There you go. All right. If you guys want to find me, I put my links in the private chat. But if you go on YouTube and Rumble, it's Alex Strenger. You can subscribe to my locals page, Alex Strenger, strenger.locals.com. My Twitter handle's at the Alex Strenger. Instagram's at Showtime Alex Strenger. If you want to buy the most inclusive shirt in the United States, I posted that link also in the private chat. It's on my Etsy shop. So yeah, that's how you get a hold of me. I have a Nostr account, which is kind of like a decentralized peer-to-peer Bitcoin based social media company. And you're talking about bankrupt, you're talking about dismantling and destroying the banking apparatus. Well, having Bitcoin and having self-custody of your own finances and learning how to do that is a great way to start doing that.
You got a little Rouge person here. They ain't Bitcoiners there, man. They don't like that Bitcoin thing, even though that's where I disagree with my LaRouche brothers and sisters. But I'm glad you brought that up. I'm laughing because I know Jose. That's great stuff. Guys, Alex Strenger, please go find his stuff. Jamie, if you could take his links from the private chat and put it in the Rumble chat, that would be great. And we'll see if we can post those up sometimes on our clips. Make sure we pass them on to Joe. Diane, let everybody know what you got going on, where we can find you.
Sure. Well, I'm running for U.S. Senate in New York against Kirsten Gillibrand as an independent, and I can be found at Sare, S-A-R-E, Sare, F-O-R, Senate.com. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. I don't use Telegram much, but I'm there. But the best way is to go to my website and sign up and get active and donate. And Jose and I are running on the same line, and I'm going to have to get 45,000 signatures starting April 16th. So if you want to come to New York and help petition, that'd be great.
Can we donate to you in Bitcoin?
Yes, I think so. Actually, I don't know. That's how much I'm interested.
We'll figure it out. Ladies and gentlemen, Diane Sare, Alex Strenger, you guys had an amazing show. It was just a wonky show today. Before you guys came on, I know Alex was in the waiting room. YouTube took us down twice for talking about the Putin Tucker interview, and who knows, they might take us down because of Alex's shirt. We never know, but that's the way it is. There's Diane Sare's thing. I mean, YouTube was just ridiculous. Go check out Diane Sare's website. Go help her out, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Strenger, Diane Sare, guys, thank you so much. You have a wonderful evening. Come back on the show again soon.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, man. It was a blast.
My pleasure,
Thanks.
brother. My
It
pleasure.
was a lot of fun.